So this is how to solve number one in practice two parallel circuits. What we want to look at is what's already given to us. And so we see that a 12-volt battery is connected across two resistors in parallel. So this is important, in parallel with resistance of 3 ohms and 4 ohms. So that gives us enough information to start filling out either the table or a picture. So since they give us the battery, what we're going to do is go ahead and fill this picture out. Okay, so we have 12. And then we all know that by the time that the charges come back on the negative side, that it's a 0. And so the voltage will only go down once it reaches a resistor. So we're going to go ahead and keep 12 all the way through. And then once it reaches a resistor, it goes through, then it loses some of that voltage or the potential, the electric potential, and so then it goes down to 0. And it'll go down to 0 here, 0, 0, and then it'll be 0 all the way up until it reaches the negative terminal, and then the whole thing starts again. All right, so we can't fill out the current just yet. So what we're going to do is fill out this part. We know that the total was 12 volts and that we are given 3 ohms and 4 ohms as our resistors. So we 3 ohms and 4 ohms. And it's in parallel, so that means if it's in parallel, the rule is that the voltage drops will be the same. So it's 12 this branch and 12 at this branch. So we're going to have a 12-volt drop and 12-volt drop because the resistors here lose that 12. Okay, and so now we can fill out our current. So we have our current, which we can figure out our current for 1 is 12 volts divided by 3 ohms, which gives us 4 amps. Okay, and then for current 2, same thing, 12 volts divided by 4 ohms, we're going to get 3 amps. Next, we know that for parallel circuits, the current adds up to, the total current is the sum of the individual currents. So this is the rule that we talked about in class. Okay, and so we have the total of 1 is 4a plus 3a. We're going to get, so our total is going to be 7a. Now, for the resistance, you can solve it 2 ways. We can do what we talked about. The total voltage is equal to the total times the total current times the total resistance. So we're going to have 12 volts is equal to 7 amps times R. Just divide 7 on both sides. And we get R is equal to 12 over 7, which is 1.71 ohms. And then you can also solve it using what we talked about in class, using the formula 1 over total resistance is equal to the resistance of 1 plus 1 over the resistance of 2. So we have what we're looking for is equal to 1 over 3 ohms plus 1 over 4 ohms. And then we would solve this using normal math. Right, so this is going to be 4 12s plus 3 12s. I'm going to get 7 12s. So 1 over RT is equal to 7 12s. And now what we're going to do is maybe find the reciprocal of it so we can solve for RT. So we have RT is equal to 12 over 7, which is going to be what we did over here is 1.71 ohms. All right. So now in our schematic, let's see, for a schematic, we're going to, I'm going to make that a little bit thicker. So we have our battery Okay. We have our ammeter. We have the first branch, and then our resistor. I forgot the ammeter. Next branch. And then they just connect. Okay. Then we'll go ahead and label it. So this is going to be our A. This is going to be B. I'm going to start this at C. And then what we talked about in class, C prime. Then D after the resistor, D prime after the resistor. And then maybe a letter at the bottom of the branch. And for when they come back together. And we know that these are going to be, so this was, 4, 4A and 3A, and the total was 7A. All right, so we have A, B, C, D, E, and we have an F, and then back to A, and the most voltage we had was 12 volts. So at A we had 0 volts, at B we had 12, at C we have 12, then D goes to 0, E goes to 0, F is at 0, and then back to A. So when we connect those lines, okay, we get that picture. Now we talked about also what it would look like, because we have C prime right here, D prime, and E prime. So then we would have C, D, and E. Okay, so I'm gonna just make dashed lines, and so it comes back together at F, and we don't continue those lines. So then this is what your overall picture should look like for number 1. If you have any questions, make sure you come in and ask in class, or you can also email me.